Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Mike Michalowicz. Mike is an entrepreneur and the author of multiple best-selling books, including The Pumpkin Plan, Fix This Next, Get Different, Surge, Clockwork, and my personal favorite, Profit First. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Brian, it's good to be with you, brother.
Awesome. Well, first, I wanted to personally thank you for writing Profit First. We've been following it for years. Like I don't know when it came out, and I don't know when I started it, but I know it's been a while. And since then, I mean, our business has grown from, we had 6 locations. We were doing about 6 million or so. We're in franchised automotive repair. Today, we have 30 locations doing $36 million a year. And all along the way, we've done Profit First, multiple bank accounts, the tax savings, all this stuff. And it's been a big game changer for us just in the way we operate and the way we think about cash flow.
I love that.
So it's not just for small, you can start small, but then as you grow and your business grows, I think the system works and it's scalable to a degree. So anyway, I want to thank you for that. And so we're going to get into that today.
My pleasure.
To start, what's your, tell me your background. So you're 18 years old, you graduate high school. What's the next?
Well, I went to college. I played sports in college. So that's not why I went to my school. I went to a school that was as far away from home as possible. It was permitted, and then played sports. Never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. Never had that vision. I thought, like my father, one job, one career, your entire life. That's what he experienced, and couldn't get the job. I interviewed around, ended up working at a local computer store, just because that's the only job I could get when I returned home. And saw the business owner, or at least I thought the business owner sits in the back room smoking cigars, counting money as I'm, sweating like an animal trying to sell printers and stuff. So I'm like, I should own a business because all you do is smoke cigars and collect money.
Count money. Yep.
Yeah. So I started a business. Oh, he wasn't smoking cigars and collecting money. He was panicked over the accounting. He was trying to build relationships. The stress, I was not prepared for that. But I had burned my bridges. I was now an entrepreneur when I was 23 and have been an entrepreneur the rest of my life. It was terrifying in the beginning. It is today an honor and an absolute joy. And what I try to do today is I'm a full-time author now. I do own 6 businesses or have an equity interest in 6 businesses. I love to discover new stuff about entrepreneurship. I realize how little I know, codify into a system that I can use in my own companies. And then if it really is effective, serve anyone that wants to read a book that could use it in theirs.
Yep. That's awesome. So then how was Profit First born? Did you create the idea? Did you was it someone else's thing that you repackaged? What's the origin story?
Yeah, it was born out of desperation. It was a repackaging of all the things I learned. But what happened, so I grew a couple businesses. I had 2 exits. One was a private equity purchase. And the second one was a Fortune 500 exit. Became a self-made millionaire in my early 30s. I think I'm the hot tomato. I know everything. And then I lost everything. I became an angel investor. I sucked at it. Lost everything.
So you made all this money and then you started just writing angel checks into other people's.
Yeah, exactly. And living large. I got a place out in Hawaii to go on sabbatical. We had a place in an affluent part of New Jersey. Got all the cars. I had a Dodge Viper.
Yep.
Just total tool. Admittedly, a total tool. I didn't know it, but I was. I lost everything through my spending and my inability to run business. I got a call from my accountant on that. I remember the second. It was February 14th in the morning of 2008. And he said, Mike, you got to declare bankruptcy. He's like, you're done. And I said, is there any other option? He goes, well, you can liquidate your remaining assets, but you're out of business. So I did that option. I didn't feel my creditors were responsible for my erroneous work. So we lost our house 30 days later. We sold it.
Yep.
We exited, I should say, and got rid of our cars. I had to tell my daughter, can't pay for horseback riding lessons. As I was telling her this, she was 9 years old. She ran to her room to grab her piggy bank. And she came to me and she goes, Daddy, since you can't provide for us, I will. That was the moment. I was like, the rock bottom. I don't get finances. I don't get how to run business. I thought I was a genius. I was an idiot. And I started to reinvestigate everything in my life. And it wasn't like, just, I hate people thinking, oh, you hit that rock bottom moment. The next morning, it's a new you. No, I started boozing hard, went through depression. I struggled for 2 years getting over myself, detoxing from who I was while intoxicating myself. And then finally cleaned up everything and said, okay, how do I do this right? And that's when I started to codify these systems. Probably first changed my life. I've been doing it for ever since then, 15 years. Weekly in the beginning, I didn't really, when I say weekly with WEAKLY, didn't really know how to do it.
Yeah, half in, half baked.
Half-assed, yeah.
So what was the first business? So you wiped it, I think in the book you talk about wiping the Cheetos off your shirt and starting the business. What was the first business?
First business I had was computer network integration, computer systems for businesses locally in New Jersey.
After 08.
Oh, after 08?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first business was to start consulting again.
Okay, to figure out the system and then...
To figure out systems.
Yep.
Here's something interesting. When you have nothing, it's very hard to start a traditional business to acquire a Midas. I can't. But the one thing you have is you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one thing you can do starting instantly is consulting. So I had a network of people and I said, hey, I can consult for you in certain projects and step in. And I started getting work right away. And that was enough to sustain. And then I started becoming an author. Then I started these different organizations since I became an author to most of them teach services that I write about.
Okay, awesome. So for people that don't know, can you give us the 101? What is Profit First? Like, what are we talking about here?
Profit First is a behavioral-based cash management system as opposed to a logical-based system. The logic for accounting is every time you have a sale, you subtract all the expenses you have, and what's left over is profit. And so over the year, more sales, subtract expenses, and what's left over is profit. Thing is, for most business owners, there's nothing left over. And there's a whole behavioral phenomenon, but basically the more that comes in, the more we spend, the more we can consume, the more we do. So there was an interesting study that opened my eyes to this. The US Bank ran a study with the SBA and identified that 83% of businesses in the US and globally survive check by check. So almost everyone is barely getting by. So I'm like, but all of us start a business in part for financial freedom. So I'm like, that's a disconnect. We want something. We're all committed to it. And we work like animals for it, but it doesn't happen. What's wrong with us? I remember looking at the formula one day saying, I can't understand why there's not profit. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my God, we're told profit comes last. In our vernacular, we call profit the bottom line, the year end. That all means not now.
Yeah, the crumbs that are left over, right?
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that's it. So I just flipped on a piece of paper. I'll never forget. I just flipped the formula. I put sales minus profit equals expenses. I'm looking, I'm like, that's it. Next day, some revenue came into my company from consulting work. I took a predetermined percentage, 10% was my number, hid it away, and kept running the business. And nothing changed. The business was the same. But I started looking at that profit account every so often. It's like, holy cow, for the first time ever, there's cash accumulating. It's another behavioral phenomenon. We make do with what we have. So as we constrain the money to spend, we become innovative. Found ways to get equipment or stuff I needed at fire sale prices. People were abandoning stuff as opposed to, oh, go on Amazon, get the new thing and spend yet again. So I became innovative. I became frugal. It was forced frugality, and my profit exploded. I was just checking recently. I started, like I said, 15 years ago. I've had 58 consecutive quarters of profit distributions, which is unheard of in the small business category. Unheard of in the public business category, but it's very doable if you simply take your profit first and you will adjust.
Yep. Yeah. I think that forced frugality is the key in this idea that if you have less resources to spend, like it's the plate, right? If your plate is smaller at dinner versus your plate is bigger, like you fill it up with more food. So if you have a smaller plate, you like eat less food. Or if you have a smaller shopping cart at the grocery, you buy less stuff.
The perfect analogy.
I think that's
it's interesting. If next time you go to shopping, if you want to run an interesting experiment, take the big shopping cart and go shopping, and then do the exact same experience with the small handheld, and do that over time, because we will bias ourselves. Do over time. People buy proportionally less because there's less area to consume. It's like, I don't really need this today. We start delaying consumption.
Yep.
And that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you do is that, you set up these multiple bank accounts for those who don't know. So you have your at least for me, and I know you have recommend potentially up to 5. We have 3. We have our operating, we have one that's profit, and then we have a tax, the tax one.
Great.
Yep. And then tax, we put in like other, property tax bills, just other things that are one big time annual expenses that like, because before like, you'd have to think in your mind, like, all right, how much I got 20,000 for this, I got 50,000 for this. And then like, then in March or April around here and property taxes are due, it would be $200,000, $300,000 like that would go on within a week, the same week payroll and our Amex is due. And like, then we have no money in the bank and we'd be like, holy shit. Like, and we're all nervous, but now because you allocate it, it's like escrow. It's like your own mini escrow.
Yes.
What's funny? Take it from there. And it's like, no, nothing changes. Like you said.
That's right. Nothing changes. What's funny though, is you said, we think we got to save money here and there. The reality is for me, for you, for all of us, we don't have to think. It's in our accounting system, but no one checks their accounting system, or very few do. And we have to accept that. I think there's this false sense of security saying, well, it's in my accounting system, it'll be okay. No, if you're not looking there, you're not going to use it. And our accountants and bookkeepers tell us, look at the accounting system, but we don't. My goal is not to change people. If we can't do it, don't do it. Channel. If you log into your bank account to see how much money is there, I'm saying that's the best behavior, but we need a system at your bank to allocate the money out to. You can't use a side system. And I often hear this pushback saying, you don't need all these accounts at your bank. You can do it with a spreadsheet. You can do it with your accounting system. I'm like, do you know behavioral psychology? Because that's a total lie. You have to intercept the path of where you are.
Yeah, the physical, I just did it this morning. We moved money from one account to the profit account. It's like the physical moving of money, like there's something that triggers in your brain that is completely different than like it withholding in an operating account that like is fluctuating every single day.
Correct.
So I think there's definitely like some powerful psychology around it.
Yeah.
The other thing I find interesting, you talked about a little, this is like the forced creativity. And I think back to like COVID, like when COVID hit and we were all shut down, like we all went into that mindset of, all right, like what, how do we get more customers? How do we sell more? How do we spend less? Like it put us in COVID into this like total creativity. All these people came up with like, all these new ideas and all these concepts. And like, I think back to like the point of profit first is to artificially put stress on us. Yes. So like by taking money out of our accounts and like putting into profit, the money's still there. We still made it. But like now we think like, oh shit, we don't have any money. We got to be creative in a similar mindset that we had in COVID.
So it's like weight training and resistance. The reason we put our body through that stress is because the body will respond by strengthening. So you have to lift weights. You have to do certain exercises if you want to build muscle. It just won't sit there. If you're lethargic, if you lay on the couch, your muscles will weaken. That's just, we know that. The same thing is with our business. If we don't put intentional stressors into our business, it becomes a lethargia. We become actually in a weaker state. So Profit First does, I like the idea that you said it artificially triggers that behavior, and it does. I would suggest it actually forwards that behavior to what's imminently going to happen. It's going to happen no matter what. Meaning, if I don't take my profit first and have less money to spend and force a hard decision, instead allow myself to keep spending money, there'll be a moment where the business is no longer sustainable. Now you're in crisis mode saying, we can't afford people, we got to fire people. And you start making these reactionary, desperate moves. So Profit First forces a hard consideration and conversation today, as opposed to a desperate one tomorrow.
Yep. So then where does someone look then, or the people that you work with and consult with, in terms of where do you look next to then spend less? I mean, for us, our two biggest costs are payroll and cost of goods, right? Do you start there? Or do you start like with fixed, easy expenses? Like what's your kind of approach if you were working with somebody on where to cut the fat?
Yeah, I usually lean into margin first. So expenses, there are some no-brainers. The highest percentage of expense for most businesses is payroll. So we look at that. Second, for more brick and mortar is rent. But we look into subscriptions now. That is exploded in cost, particularly for online businesses, where people sign up for subscriptions and there's this redundancy. So someone will get a CRM and they'll get an email system and they'll get all this. When we look at the CRM, it has an email system and has all these different things. And so they have this kind of
that makes sense.
Pit of stuff. There's a lot of low hanging fruit. What I find in most businesses, we can cut 10% of cost if they haven't been cost cutting overnight, no impact. 20% is kind of a deeper cut. And usually we can move the business to a profitable, healthy state between that 10 and 20%. But 20%, we're in the risk of cutting some muscle, some stuff that really supports it. So the easier opportunity is, where can we increase margin? Businesses inevitably devalue themselves, especially small business owners. If I charge more, I'm going to lose clients, when the reverse is true. If I charge more, I'll actually get a better quality client and attract more.
Yep.
The number one form of marketing on this planet, and no one talks about it, the number one form of marketing is the price. The example I use is if I put down, we're sitting in a room together and put down like a diamond on the table and say, that's worth $15. You and I both know it's plastic, it's a cubic zirconia, it's disposable.
Yep.
If I do the exact same process and say that's $15,000, now we're like, grab those stupid tongs, put it in the velvet little baggie.
Yeah, it's all perception. Yep.
Yeah, percent. But the standard is the price. When we say price, we instantly say that's what this means about the item. And it's the most important part of marketing. So when it comes to small business, most conversations are probably priced too low for the perception we want for engagement from our clients. We got to bump that price up, and that presents margin. And the question, of course, is how do we increase price without increasing cost? And then we have that gap for profitability.
Yep. And making sure the value's there, right? Someone's delivering to be there. And it's like, but then sometimes people are so in the weeds, they don't realize like how much value they're delivering because they're just like, whatever, they're stuck in the day to day. They don't see what the competitors are doing. They maybe aren't looking at the results of, what the service they're providing is a 10x whatever they're spending, and maybe it could be 8x and they'd still be happy, right?
And I'll give you a hack to finding what you should be doing, because I would even argue most businesses are doing too much. Therefore, they're overwhelming the client with we can also do, and they're diluting their ability to be good at anything because they have to do everything. Go to your best clients, historically best clients, and simply ask them, what do we do that's right? Like, why do you keep coming back to us? Now, here's what's interesting. They will never tell you what they do right. They will tell you how they judge you. So if I go to my best client and say, what do I do right? And they say, you respond so quickly. They're not saying I'm doing that right. They're saying, I watch how quickly you respond. Therefore, the thing you do right is actually the thing you need to improve. If you get better at what they're observing, they will notice and your reputation will skyrocket. So ask your best clients what you're doing right, do that better, and you have an opportunity to increase value.
Okay. Interesting. Do you talk about that in one of your books?
Pumpkin Plan. Yeah.
That's what that's about. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Because even for us in our business, we're always looking at, what can we do better? And, even being in a franchise in automotive, it's like, we sometimes try to be everything to everyone, right? Yeah. It's like tires and brakes and oil and then general repair and diag. And like, there's all these, the cars, tons of stuff, right? But then it's like the companies that really excel seem to focus in on kind of like one part of it, but then do that really, really well instead of like, trying to be everything to everyone.
I was working with not a maid service, but an office cleaning service. And, they're seen as generic. Everyone's an office cleaner. They have a particular challenge is that you don't even see them. They do it at night. And so they ask their clients, why do you buy from us? And their best client said, we just love that the personal touch is when we do run into people, they just ask, hey, my pictures on my wall, can you make sure you dust them and re-straighten them? And we're like, absolutely. Personal touch. So we said, how do we exploit this? What we did is we made these little cards that you'd get like a 5-star hotel with a chocolate, on your bed when they turn it down. We made the same cards and it said, I had the privilege of cleaning your office this evening. I have done everything in here, but if there's anything that's out of alignment or anything you like better, please tell our offices at this number or reception. And here's your creme de mint or whatever it was that they left. It freaking blew people's minds. You come into your office and you had someone turn down your bed for you.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only discovered it because they asked, what am I doing right? And then actually went better at that.
Awesome. Cool. So let's shift a little bit to Clockwork. So that's, one of your newer books. Tell me, the elevator pitch. What's it about?
So Clockwork, the subtitle is Design Your Business to Run Itself. What I argue is that if the business can't run without the owner, the business is the owner. It's contingent upon them. And I can tell you, because I work with so many small businesses, so many small businesses are on the verge of collapse if the owner even takes 2 weeks off. And that's absurd. When I interview people, I say, why do you start a business? They're like, well, for financial freedom and personal freedom to do what I want when I want. I'm like, do you have either? They're like, nope. I'm like, well, we got to fix that. I hope profit first is the solution to financial freedom. Clockwork is a way of extracting a person from the business. And there's multiple steps to get there. I'll give you the two big ones.
Yep.
One is your identity. I would argue this is the simplest concept to absorb, but the hardest thing to do. And you can literally just use it one word to transform everything, but it's so hard. If we call ourselves an entrepreneur, sadly, that's become bastardized with hustle and grind. You got to work in the business. I love the word's original meaning, which was to have a vision for an outcome and organize resources to get there. I have a new word, shareholder. And the reason I like shareholder is I'm a shareholder in Ford, stock, for example. When Ford sends me a profit distribution, I don't say, oh, shucks, I don't deserve this, Ford. I said, I made an investment. Thank you. And I surely don't run to the factory to earn the time back for this. I do also yield opinion. I vote for Ford, their board of directors and so forth with all the other shareholders. That's the role of a shareholder. In a small business, we own sometimes all the stock, a lot of it. Your job is to collect profit. The reason is to collect profits because you contributed societally. You're empowering people. You're giving jobs. You have 30 places, 30 locations that it's unbelievable.
We have 200 employees. We have 500 families, whatever it is, people in the family.
It's a huge contribution to our society. And you're providing your clients with a service of a safer car. That's a huge contribution. And you're paying your vendors for the supplies they give you and all that stuff. Huge contribution. Profit is a reward for thanking you for doing that. Only, this is crazy, 3% of the population ever successfully runs a sustainable business. 14% will start, 20% of those will be successful. That's 3%. So you are the anomaly. So you have to be rewarded for that. The second part is a shareholder also gives strategic direction. The board of directors, here's the vision, here's where I want to go. So that's our job. I challenge people in Clockwork, stop saying you're a business owner, stop saying you're a shareholder, entrepreneur, start saying you're a shareholder. And it's very weird because you're going to be out, someone says, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a shareholder. Of a small business, like what the F? But your identity will shift if you stick with it. And that's why it's so hard. You have to stick with it, but the day will click. I've been saying this for a long time and there's been a shift in me. My business doesn't need me. I've chosen to revote myself in two ways. Be a spokesperson. It's kind of what we're doing now. I love it. And write books. But if I leave, and I will in just a few weeks, for 4 or 5 weeks consecutively, the business goes on unabated because the team is running it. And that's the second lesson. In Clockwork, I implore people to take 4-week vacations. And if the idea of taking 4 consecutive weeks off from the business gives you a little bit of an emotional heart attack, that already identifies we've process problems in the business. If you can leave your business for 4 consecutive weeks, your business likely can and continue. Your business can likely run into perpetuity because most business elements happen in monthly cycles. So it's the ultimate test. That's
not doing work on vacation, right? You're not just
total disconnect. My assistant changes the password of my email. And here's what I thought: if I do that, my colleagues will say, oh, Mike, you go on vacation, you're drinking Mai Tais, we're working our asses off. It's all of our sweat for your gain. But what the reality was when I left, they said, you actually are empowering us. You trust us. You've given us the keys. We're going to show you how good we are. And we're going to show ourselves how good we are. By leaving, you're empowering. And my final statement on this, and I know I'm kind of diatribing here, but I believe this is so emphatic. Okay.
Yeah.
My final statement is this. The job of an entrepreneur is to be a creator of jobs, not a doer of jobs. And if you are doing the job, you are stealing jobs from people who want to do the job. Be a creator of jobs. That's what we need to do as shareholders, entrepreneurs.
So then from your standpoint, you start a business from day one, you're really looking then to build that team out, whether
as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, right?
Yeah, it's a team of one in the beginning, in many cases. But day 2, get an assistant. I mean, the best hire anyone can make is get an assistant. In fact, I with an audience, and I said, who here has a personal assistant? And there's a couple hundred people in the room. I say 50 hands went up. I said, anyone who didn't raise a hand, I want you to know you are the personal assistant if you don't have one.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, there's more than just taking a load off of our plate when we hire a personal assistant. We also learn how to delegate, which is probably one of the most difficult tools for many small business owners. We don't know how to delegate. We know how to abdicate and we know how to micromanage. Rarely do we know how to delegate, which is keeping control, but not intercepting or not interfering at the micro level. Delegation is the assignment of outcomes, where we headed, and ensuring that we're heading to our outcomes we want in job responsibilities or for the company, but it's not intercepting. It's allowing the employee or the contractor to make mistakes, recover, navigate through it with their own decisions, but always achieve that outcome. We need to be great delegators. And a virtual assistant is a great way to start, or a personal assistant.
Yep. And then it's also like following up on it. I mean, sometimes I think people in the beginning struggle that they'll delegate a task, like, oh, I told them to do that, but then they don't follow up with them, or maybe the instruction wasn't clear. And then it doesn't get done. And then there's all these excuses. Oh, I told them to do it. And it's like, well, like, it's still your responsibility to make sure the task gets done, to the expectation you had.
Amen, man. That's abdication. Abdication is just as deadly, if not more, than micromanagement. Abdication is exactly that. It's the assignment of something, but then it's the relief of any responsibility back to the person who's
the monkey.
Right?
They throw the monkey at you. Right?
Yeah. And it's really easy to point the finger. You didn't do what you said you do. But no, delegation is the assignment of outcomes, but it's the monitoring of that outcome and it's the support for the person to get there. So there's an active involvement. It's this interesting balance that we need to strike the chord. It's basically being a coach to your colleagues.
Yep. So then Clockwork is about how to shift your identity from the person who's rolling up the sleeves to the shareholder, and then also how to hire and delegate a personal assistant.
Yeah. Well, not a personal, the entire team.
The entire team. Okay.
The Clockwork is it's a 7-step process. I just gave you kind of the front end of the end. So the front end is declare yourself a shareholder to get an identity shift. It actually starts with your mind. Inevitably, the business owner is the biggest impedance to growth, and it's what's going on.
100%. Yep.
There's, it's a superhero syndrome. I can swoop in and fix anything. No. Be a super visionary, not a superhero. The other side of it is this fortification. That's the ultimate acid test. The steps between, there's 5 steps that you have to go through to slowly extract yourself. To put a kind of a story around this, I went out with Michael Gerber. We were both keynoting. This is 10 years ago. He wrote E-Myth.
Yep.
One of the mandatory reads in small business. He says his thesis is don't work in your business, work on your business.
Yep.
And we're sitting down at dinner and I said, how's your book doing? He's like, great. Sold millions of copies and stuff. And he goes, there's a big problem. I said, what? Because people think there's a switch that flips one day. If I work in my business long enough that one day, miraculously, I don't have to work in it. I work on it because there's no freaking switch. It's a throttle. Clockwork walks you through this process. It's a surgical extraction from you being kind of conjoined with your business and removing you from being in the business. And it takes months or years. But if we don't start today, it'll never happen.
Yep. Yeah, I see that all the time from friends who have, small businesses, even to me where we're at today. Like me and my brother who own the company, we're the bottleneck that gets us to 50 or 60 or 100 or whatever size we want to go to. Like it's our decision.
Correct.
Whether you're at one location, 10, 100, whatever, and so it's at every scale, and it's all comfort. Like it's like, can someone grow outside their comfort zone?
Oh, you totally. Yeah. The leader has to grow the most, and it's weird. It's hard.
And it's because it's like all the things you did that got you here, like don't get you.
No, nothing worse. Yeah, it's all different. Right? Yeah.
And so it's like there's someone's willingness to go through that pain, but the challenge and all the fun stuff. So anyhow, but yeah, it sounds like a great book. I'll definitely be checking it out. And,
I'm honored.
Cool. So where can people connect to buy your books? I know they're all on Amazon, but like give me the spiel.
That's the spot. Any bookstore. But if you want to check out what I'm doing, no one can spell my last name, Michalowicz, let alone pronounce it. You nailed it, actually.
Yeah. I've heard it a couple times.
Yeah, I'm sure you rehearsed. Mike Motorbike. Mike Motorbike is the only G-rated nickname I had growing up. The other ones are horrible. So I secured the domain, mikemotorbike.com. That's my nickname. Go there. You'll see all this stuff. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal. You'll get those articles. I have my own podcast. It's all at mikemotorbike.com.
Awesome. Cool. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story and wisdom, and obviously writing Profit First and all this cool stuff. I mean, you're definitely a thought leader in the space, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a joy being with you, Brian.
All right. Thanks, Mike. That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.